Hey everybody, I am back just very quickly. Didn't quite get to it last Friday because I ran a bit long, unusual for me, I know. But yes, we're ready for you to vote on what is the next lubricant test project to go on the test machine for. Let me bring that up on screen now. Alrighty, so this is the list to vote on. It hasn't changed massively since the last time because, no massive need to just yet. I have added in the optimized bike single application longevity test. We've just completed the main test, but that test machine is now booked for manufacturer testing and likely to be so for some time. I've just got test machine 4, which is our open test machine to try to work on all this stuff available. So I will leave it up to your good selves as to whether or not that is the test of most interest that gets voted in, or are there other lubricant tests or tests that we want to do that we think would be of greater interest and information value. I think of note, so you can all see the options there. I've just expanded a little bit more the information on what these two particular tests would be. So the wax strip plus the immersive wax combo, this is the, I guess, really main recommended path for the masses. That it's like if immersive waxing all the time, which is always going to be king, is not practical for you. The best option that is practical for most cyclists out there is to immersive wax, then use a wax strip for, say, the next 3 to 5 lubrications in between, and then do an immersive wax to reset any contamination that's starting to build. And you've got just still such a brilliant outcome going that path, because that re-wax is taking the place of what, say, wet lubricant users would needing to do a solvent flush clean. And I can tell you that a re-wax is vastly more pleasurable to do versus a solvent flush clean, whether you're doing that on bike or off bike. It's just nowhere near as cathartic and as much fun as swishing your chain around in a lovely pot of melted wax. And typically you are going to have less contamination to reset by using a top wax strip and immersive wax than you're going to at the same points with a wet lubricant, because we all know what wet lubricants tend to do. So just so you know, what is the difference between, say, immersive waxing all the time versus immersive waxing periodically in conjunction with your wax strip, and just getting that difference in data would be really interesting to see. As well as this, the chain maintenance test, this has long been on the wish list to try to get to. So we take a middle of the road wet lubricant that we've already tested, so we already have that baseline wear rate for that product. And this time at X points throughout the test, we're going to perform maintenance. So we would start with on-bike maintenance. So we'd do some really feasible but good on-bike maintenance that we would expect a normal person to be able to easily and proficiently do, and see what difference in wear rate that delivers for our wet lubricant product by doing that, because I think that would be really interesting. And then we could have a look at, so the next part of that would be to repeat that test, but this time doing the maintenance off bike. So taking the chain off, pumping a whole bunch of solvent through it with some solvent flush clean baths. That should say clean, not cleans. And then we really get to see a difference in wear rate between obviously baseline and versus on bike and now off bike. And from that, I guess we'd get a pretty good picture as to whether or not the extra solvent cost and potential sort of time and faff of doing off bike, is it worth it for the wear rate difference that you get versus just doing good on bike maintenance. And then the third test involved in that series would be going the whole hog and doing it via ultrasonic, trying to get that absolute perfect reset each time, and see what difference that makes to our extending the lifespan of the chain. So that's the main highlights to, I guess, look at in a nutshell. But otherwise, any and all of these. This is again the cold list. There's a lot of requested tests that are not on this list. There are just so many products, and this is the narrowed down options from the most requested tests that we've had over time. So any that I've missed from last time, I think there might have been one or two that I did tweet to from comments last time that I said, yes, I must remember to add that to the list, and I can't remember if I did or not. So if I missed that, please let me know. But otherwise, get your votes in. It is currently sort of Tuesday when I'm doing this. If we can close off voting by, say, close of business Friday, Adelaide time in Australia, that would be great. That will enable me to hopefully get cracking on getting this test going on the weekend, or the next test, I should say. All right, enough rambling from me. Thanks everyone for your votes in advance, and look forward to see what comes in, and then I'll get cracking on that. And with luck, I'll get another video out this week, possibly tomorrow or Thursday. So separate to the main Friday video, which I'll hopefully get to, just to launch the e-inflator testing. And no idea how much interest there'll be in this little side project, but I'm having a bunch of fun tinkering around with it. And unlike, I guess, what media publications are going to focus on, which is really going to be certainly some performance testing aspects of them, as well as usability. So already some publications and tech writers have done some really good articles reviewing the e-inflators. There'll be a bit of that with what I'm doing as well, just from physically using them, if anything stands out, good or bad, just from hammering the bejesus out of the product. But my main focus is going to be, aside from some outright performance metrics, it's going to be on their longevity and durability. So it's going to be a bit of fun to show you what we've sort of got in terms of how they're going to be hammered frequently, and obviously keeping track of any performance degradation over time until they indeed will inevitably crap themselves, and how long does it take for that to occur. I won't ramble on too much because I'll go into it on the actual video launching this little side project. But a big part of, I think, why a lot of people are going to the mini e-inflators is the environmental aspect, as opposed to single-use CO2 cartridges. But obviously for them to offset or be environmentally better, because a reasonable amount of resources comparatively goes into making these. We have a battery, we have a motor, we have electronics and a gauge, and housing, a whole bunch of stuff. They do need to have a fairly decent lifespan if they're going to actually be more environmentally friendly than a CO2 canister. And also we need to take into account the disposal of them at the end of their life. So if we have a mini e-inflator, especially if we've got a cheap one from AliExpress or Temu, and it craps itself after, say, 3 uses, and is pretty crap even before that, there is no way that has been a better environmental choice versus just using CO2 canisters, which are steel, and they're not going to leach out chemicals like a battery will if you just pop that into your landfill. So all of that stuff. Anyway, it'd be very interesting to see what the general interest level in this little project is once we launch it. But suffice to say, we've got a pretty groovy bunch of testing and protocol around the mini e-inflator testing to launch for you shortly. So stay tuned for that. I think it's going to be a bunch of fun.